I just call it how I see it. I speak my mind as we kind of navigate through this price data, through the Cardano data, through the on-chain metrics data. It's all I can do. I can only just throw out what I'm seeing because that's what I'm doing. I'm tracking the data with you in terms of Cardano and ADA price. This isn't financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but as I always say, the data is so compelling, and it continues to be as ADA is in the Vassal hard fork. There's the green box presenting itself just so nicely. It's so nicely presented. You can just see the Vassal hard fork towards the end of June. The setup is there for that breakout to the upside going into the hard fork. Whether or not it happens, we're going to just track it. We're going to see. But what's so cool about it is we're there now. We've waited so long. We've been tracking these hard fork events previously, and Cardano seeing this data, making its run up into those hard fork events. Now, as we look at this chart, though, on the daily chart, the breakout target to the upside right now out of this pattern is around $1.10. Keep in mind the breakout target to the downside just below 30 cents. Now, shout out to Chris Clancy. He's over there on Twitter. He tweeted at me earlier, just said, same resistance. What do you think? And I guess he was talking about a resistance area. But what really stood out when I just glanced at his chart here was the ascending triangle. And this is something I haven't been tracking. I don't know how I missed it or why I haven't been tracking it, but this is probably the most important pattern on the ADA chart right now, as ADA kind of gets close to the apex of this triangle going into Vassal hard fork. I mean, the apex is literally wrapping around the Vassal hard fork timeframe, the end of June. Now, here's the resistance line I think Chris was alluding to in that tweet, and you can see ADA on the daily hovering around there, right below, finally meeting the resistance at the 50-day moving average. So perfect confluence almost at the upper trend line right now. And ADA is just below it by 2 cents. So very small move for ADA to test it once again to the upside. It's what I'll be watching in the short term. But you can just see, as ADA trades into the apex of this triangle, the 20-day moving average also just kind of hovering below ADA as ADA continues to see support and close daily candles above it. I started the video just saying I call things how I see it. Anything can happen, right? Absolutely. We know that. But this data and markets in general, they are all positioned to see a rally. We've already cleared that up. And I'm talking about traditional markets as well. Everything is set up and positioned, if things fall right, and then even the next couple of days, to see a rally. Now, if that happens, ADA is probably best positioned, in my view, in crypto to just see a massive breakout. And the setup is there. And so this is really important to track this. Now, on the smaller time frames, I was maybe getting a little distracted on the 6-hour chart with a pattern over there that we've been tracking. That is the descending triangle. Now, Bulkowski says this, and Bulkowski is an analyst that I follow. I follow his data because it's just been so consistent for me over the years. And I have how many videos now? Over almost 4 years on YouTube. And I use a lot of that time I've used Bulkowski on the patternsite.com. So the descending triangle, he has, based on 1,300 trades, any direction, a breakout, but upward 53% of the time. So you might be like, all right, well, that's not much help in terms of the descending triangle that we're looking at. Like, okay, anything can happen. We already know that. But there's other things I'm introducing here, and one of those things is another pattern, and that is an ascending triangle. And again, we're kind of getting close to the apex of that ascending triangle. Now he says there's an upward 63% of the time breakout. So we have two patterns now, one at 53%, the other at 63% of the time to the upside. So chances getting a little bit better in favor of the bulls. But then we have other things in play on top of that. And I'm not trying to throw hopium out there, but this is what I'm seeing right now. So I'm waiting for a breakout. If it doesn't happen, the other piece of me is prepared to track support to the downside. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm waiting for a breakout. That's kind of my position right now. I could be wrong, and I'll probably get a lot of hate in the comments if I am wrong, but I'm waiting for a breakout because the other things that are happening is the Vassal hard fork. You go Google Cardano right now, and those FUD articles, right? The fear, the uncertainty, the doubt that's just always kind of out there with Cardano, they've kind of disappeared. There's actually a little bit more of bullish sentiment going on around Cardano right now. That's one thing. We're seeing, we just talked about it yesterday, how the interest in Cardano is increasing from just public retail surveys. And also, we looked at Grayscale in terms of their X Ethereum smart contract platform fund. ADA over 30% allocated, their highest, their number one allocated asset. Now, these things coming on top of the patterns we just looked at. And then on top of that, we have just a lot of upside in play for ADA on the slower moving momentum oscillator on the daily chart. It's not like right now on this daily chart, ADA's in overbought territory where it's previously topped out, right? It has been some upside, but ADA is sitting at like 50, just above 50 on the RSI with a ton of room for upside for a breakout to the upside. So a chart like this could easily bring ADA back over $1. And I know it sounds crazy because it's a big move for ADA, but if there's a rally, if traditional markets, if all of these things come together, ADA is positioned so nicely for an incredible breakout. Going over to the weekly chart, this is what the weekly chart looks like. Again, the setup is here. If we look at the weekly chart, we're getting a very key slower moving momentum oscillator, the RSI, bounce right off of oversold. Now, previously, this is when we were in this general vicinity, this was an oversold bounce back in March 2020. That's the COVID swing low coming out of there. And basically, when we see these oversold moves coming out of oversold bounces, at the very least, we're seeing ADA kind of pull into this blue line that you see here. That's a 50-week moving average. So let me kind of zoom in just a little. So you can see getting pulled into the 50-week moving average, even just to test it. And that's coming out of the oversold area. So coming out of oversold, boom, boom, pulled into 50-week moving average. And here we are again, coming out of oversold potentially. Now, this is a very big target on the macro. This is the 50-week moving average at $1.40 right now. Keep in mind, it takes weeks for ADA to meet it. And in that time, this could come down. And it could come down to the 110 to 120 area as ADA's making its way up to the 110 targets that we just talked about. So these things coming together very nicely in such a just really symmetrical way. And I maintain this thought that behind all of this, and if it did come together so nicely, it's not a prediction that I'm doing. It's just consistent data replaying itself. And the reason why we see consistency on these charts and symmetry is just because it's human beings. It's human emotion behind these things. And it's those habits of the human behind these charts. And that's why we see these formations. I really think that. So I digress from me sitting here saying, hey, I'm waiting for a breakout because I don't know. No YouTuber knows, no analyst knows, nobody in the world knows what's going to happen tomorrow with any chart out there. Okay, let's get that out of the way. But as I sit here and I wait for that, I'm also just anticipating, hey, if it fails, if we don't get this breakout even above this trend line confluent with the 50-day moving average, we're talking 64, 65 cents. We don't get a move above there to start the breakout at the very least. The 20-day moving average is 54 cents right now. So I'm basically watching this entire ascending triangle. So the 20-day moving average around 54 cents, the lower trend line around 50 cents. If we go over here, we have this formation on the ascending triangle, swing low to swing high. Confluent with both of those areas, we have a 618 just about where the 20-day moving average is, that green line. And we have the 786 line almost perfectly confluent with the lower trend line of the ascending triangle. So this is the support area. If all else fails, Cardano doesn't break out, it doesn't happen, it's all good. I will be watching that support area to see if ADA can just continue its consolidation, continue to keep us guessing, wondering, and see how support holds. At the end of the day, I know I didn't talk about the targets to downside a lot, but at the end of the day, this could be the case. If markets go red, everybody's always talking about this new swing low. The bear market is in formation for forming a bottom, but there's going to be another low. Well, guess what? this could be the setup for that as well. I know I'm giving two options because that's life, everybody. There's always two options. There's always all these different things that can happen. It's just a matter of being prepared for them, thinking strategically around both scenarios and saying, hey, considering all scenarios are possible, how am I feeling in terms of my portfolio? Am I comfortable right now? Am I a little kind of overextended in terms of the risk that I'm putting out there? What do I need to adjust? What do I need to do to feel comfortable in this present moment based on what we're seeing on the screen? And that's data. And the data is based off of historical events, things that have happened, historical consistencies. That's why Bolkowski over here on the pattern site has so much data that he's tracked, because it is what it is. And so we're going to continue watching this, but I just wanted to do an update in terms of ADA charts. The hard fork, Vaso hard fork is, weeks away still, but just really things getting really critical here on these charts as markets right now are critical and things are very unknown. So be very careful out there. Don't listen to YouTubers for financial advice. And we're going to get through this, whether we get the breakout to the upside or not. I thought it was definitely worth doing an ADA TA today, though, considering this pattern right here on the daily, how ADA is trading between these moving averages. So let's see where the break is for ADA as we go into tonight and into tomorrow. Hit the subscribe, everybody. I appreciate you for cruising by. If you're not staking your ADA as you're accumulating, stake with CCV. A link in the description how to do so if you are interested. And I appreciate you all out there. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.